Hello and welcome back to the Pain Free for Life podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rob Vanbergen, and today I'm interviewing my friend and colleague, Lloyd Burrell. Lloyd is the creator of the international award-winning docuseries Electric YOUniverse. He's author of the Amazon bestseller Healing with Vibration, author of the EMF Practical Guide, and founder of electricsense.com, which has had over 4 million visits since its inception in 2009. Lloyd is passionate about energy mastery and helping people understand their true energetic nature and live a life of elevated health, purpose, and consciousness. In this episode, Lloyd and I discuss the Electric YOUniverse documentary, how it began through his story and his helping others around the world. We talk about the energy of the body and how EMF sensitivity can critically impact you. Most importantly, we discuss the concept of the EMF sensitivity and the energy and physical connections of the body, going into how physical health is a byproduct of our energetic health. And we discuss how we can functionally fix these, looking at what people can do at almost no cost or no cost to resolve these issues in their bodies with food, exercise, and sleep, down to toxic relationships. We're discussing how you can escape the bubbles that we've created for ourselves in society. So, without further ado, let's dive in.
Welcome back to Pain Free for Life, where we share how to successfully overcome all kinds of chronic and extreme conditions to live happy, productive, pain-free lives forever. And now, here's your host, co-founder, and board-certified holistic healthcare practitioner, Dr. Rob Vanbergen.
Hello, Lloyd. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, Rob. It's great to be here.
So I'm really excited today to talk about Electric YOUniverse, but I think before we get to that point, we should talk about how you got here. So how did you go from kind of talking about EMFs, which, as I mentioned before we started recording this, if you don't know, you don't know about these things, to talking about Electric YOUniverse itself?
Well, firstly, Electric YOUniverse, what a journey, because it just started out as an idea, as all these things start out as a little idea, maybe of something that we can do. And then we'll do a documentary. And then from doing a documentary, we said, it's actually 4 episodes, like from 1 episode to 4 episodes. And then it just kind of took off. And at the end of it, we won 6 awards in international film festivals around the world, which was very exciting. And so, and it's kind of the culmination of this EMF journey that I'd been on, that I am still on, if you want. And because we're all on a journey, I think, in this life. And so with me, just so people that don't know, so anyway, just say what EMFs are, because some people don't even know that, and I quite understand that. So we're talking about electromagnetic fields. And what happened to me, Rob, as you know, because we talked about it before, I had a reaction to my cell phone, just out the blue, one day to the next, cell phone to my ear, and I was in excruciating pain. It just came on like that one day in 2002. And before I knew where I was, I started reacting to everything, to my computer, to the TV, to the radio in the car, the corded landline even. I became hypersensitive, and it was the weirdest thing because it just came out of nowhere. And I searched and searched and searched. And literally, I thought I was going crazy because I wasn't in this field at all. So I'm actually a chartered accountant, which is like a CPA by training. And then I was running this, which I hated. And then we moved to France with my wife, and I was running this holiday rental business. And then this thing happened to me with this cell phone. So it just totally unexpected. And obviously it had a big impact because there was things I couldn't do. And I literally thought I was going crazy because I went to the doctors and, all these tests and everything, and they could find nothing wrong with me. And this put me on this journey to like figure things out and understand exactly what was going on. And what was going on is actually very normal. It's just that I experienced it in a kind of an unusual way. And the very normal thing is that, well, we are actually energetic beings. Like you, we kind of look at ourselves and we are flesh, blood, and bones, but then beyond that, there is so much more to life. And so we call, we use the term human beings, and that's true. And all of this is true, but there is this really very big misunderstanding about what actually health is. And so this was like bang in my face, like, oh, EMFs, this energy, like from cell phones, Wi-Fi, all these electrical devices, it is a very real thing, and it can make you very sick. And again, I thought I was just weird, and I am weird. I'm different, and everybody's different. But so it happened to me. And then I started reading the science, and it was like, but EMFs impact everybody because we're all energetic. All our, like our nerves are electrical pulses. We all have these energetic electrical systems in our body, and these electromagnetic fields, these man-made electromagnetic fields, impact that. And so how from going from that to like Electric YOUniverse. So here's the thing, right? If you're listening, you won't realize that Electric YOUniverse is actually written universe, because it's about you and is about the universe. It's kind of you in the universe. And so it's really a story. It's like telling the truth about health as I see it, and how really it's about energy. And the Electric YOUniverse documentary was actually, so I had this experience, and I knew that day in 2002 it was something energy. I didn't even know what an electromagnetic field was. All I knew, it was something energy. I knew. And then it was like all of these years, what I've been trying to do is help other people know and understand this. And that's what Electric YOUniverse is about, and bringing in science, but sharing the science, because as you know, there's a lot of science behind this, and so that people can understand also.
Yeah, no, and the scary thing about EMFs is kind of what you mentioned there. Like, it just can kind of hit you like from left field. It can just smack you in the face. And there's some people that kind of feel like this sensitivity could never affect them. And I deal with that a lot, like, 'cause we deal with energy medicine, and people are like, well, I'm not EMF sensitive. And it's like, as you said there, the key thing, everyone is being impacted by EMFs every single day. You may not feel it yet, but it could be coming down the line. What I find disturbing about this as well is that it is something that more and more people are experiencing. It seemed like it used to be a lot rarer, right?
100%.
Do you feel like this kind of like stems in from the increase in things like just 5G and all this technology getting more and more?
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Great question. So what it is, it's multifactorial. It's a whole load of things. And it is, as you say, what's happening is that it's all ramping up, all of these exposures, because there's, just to be clear, there's two kinds of exposures, broadly speaking. There is the wireless, and wireless is everything like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, smart, 4G, 5G, all of this, radar, 5G in space, satellites in space, and all of this is just ramping up exponentially. And we don't see it. We just think, oh yeah, my cell phone's really cool. I can do so much. I can download videos, and I've got YouTube, and I can watch movies and Netflix and all of this. And it's great. I mean, who doesn't love that? And, I keep holding up my cell phone. I went 19 years without a cell phone. This is, because I couldn't be around cell phones. And so there is this exponential growth in all of that. And then I just want to say there's also the wired exposures. So we're living in these homes with electrical wiring. And the thing is, with electrical wiring, the electricity doesn't stay on the wires. It permeates out into the room. And so we've got electric fields, magnetic fields, dirty electricity, and all of these devices, which we all know and love and, are very avid for, the latest smart, whatever, TV, dishwasher, toothbrush, you name it, all of that adds to it. Adds to this dirty electricity. Solar panels, we've had a conversation about this before. The inverters they use on solar panels, all of that adds to it. And so that's just EMFs. But the thing is, I call EMFs the mother of all toxins. Why? Because EMFs interact with all the other toxins. And they can do this at any time, immediately. Any toxin which is in your system, because EMFs are an energy and only an energy, other toxins are actually, they have a physical and an energetic component. Every toxin has an energy that goes with it as well. And so we've got this mother of all toxins, and we're living in this increasingly polluted world. People are stressed out, and all of this is like the perfect storm for what's going on.
Yeah, no, great answer. Very informative. And I just want to say as well, I've seen this too, when we're dealing with microcurrent on people, EMF sensitivity has the same symptoms as someone who has mold toxicity, heavy metal toxicity, latent viruses. These all manifest when we input energy into the body in a positive way. The reaction can be the same, and the treatment kind of the same for all of them. So as you say, it activates all of these toxicities. It's huge. I also think it's interesting because, as you say, they're kind of all around us all the time. And there's the wired and there's the wireless. And, I've for a long time now, I've turned off my wireless at night in an effort to, reduce the exposure. But interestingly enough, this has never happened to me before. They had a scheduled power outage on my street last night for 12 hours. It started at 10. And it ran through till, must have been 8 hours. It was 10 till 6:30. Regardless, the point, I had the most restful sleep that I have had in years. And I was thinking about this because it just conveniently, as we're coming up to this point, this was no wired electricity in anyone's houses anywhere in 5 blocks. And so there was no electricity. There was no EMFs. There was nothing. And I was like, whoa. Well, I mean, there's the natural EMFs, but wow, what a difference it made to not have that on. So I just thought that was an interesting coincidence.
It is. And incidentally, that's what I tell people to do, to figure out if I don't really like the term EMF sensitive, because, it's never just EMFs, it's EMFs with the other toxins. It's just that you realize EMFs are the trigger, but that's what one recommendation is: go camping.
Yeah.
Go somewhere low EMF. There's nowhere without man-made EMFs, but go camping for a weekend, and it's a very similar experience to what you had last night.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is. I can't wait to talk to my wife about it, actually, to see how she slept too. Okay, back to Electric YOUniverse. So developing this project, what was the main thing you wanted people to understand in watching the documentary?
Yeah. So, there were lots of big ideas behind this, and one of them, big ideas, big understandings. One of them is this understanding that the universe is in a state of vibration, that it's seething with energy, frequency, vibration. That's what's really going on. And also that this is an intelligent universe, and there is an intelligence out there, an intelligent force, and that your physical health, really important point, your physical health is a byproduct of your energetic health. This is really important. And so everybody's kind of focused on their physical health, working out and eating the right foods and that kind of thing, if you are focused on health. And that's great. But really, the focus should be on the energetic health. Because why? Because it's the energy that leads. It's always the energy that leads. So if your energies are screwed up, to put it in politely, then your physical, you will have symptoms at some point. Maybe not immediately, but at some point. And my goal with Electric YOUniverse, it was to make all this real. Because again, Rob, I had this experience, when something happens and you just don't have words to explain it. This was life changing. I put the phone to my ear, and I got all of these symptoms, and I was reacting to everything. I mean, how do you explain that? Where'd you start? So there, it put me on it. And because I'm a bit of like a dog with a bone, I just kept digging, digging, digging. And really, all of these interviews that I've been doing, hundreds and hundreds of interviews over the years with people, it's digging for the answers, and it's trying to understand the science. And I was reading the studies and stuff, but boy, studies are hard work, and connecting with experts on this. And this is what Electric YOUniverse was about. It was about bringing these experts on and getting them to share the story about in their speciality, which enables people to understand that, well, energy is a real thing. Our energies are real and very important. For instance, experts like Professor Magda Havas in Canada, Professor Ole Johansson in Sweden, talking about EMFs and how they're impacting the body. Experts on the biofield like Dr. Beverly Rubik, Eileen McCusick, experts on consciousness like our friend Dr. Keith Scott Momby, experts on the Eastern energy perspective, Master Ming-Tong Gu. I don't know if you know him, because like the Chinese, and the Asians and all of that continent, they're like way ahead of us on this. So it's not peer-reviewed science, but they have an understanding that we don't in the West. And then like the kind of the quantum perspective, because there's a quantum angle to all of this. Because as soon as you start talking about energy, you're in this. I mean, you can kind of ignore it and try and put it under the carpet, but it's there, like this we're all connected sort of idea. And so, and I've interviewed Lynn McTaggart a number of times, Dr. Bruce Lipton, to share their science on all of this and explain, energy and what's important to understand from their perspective. And then what I also had, Rob, was one of my team, I sent her to this clinic, a bioenergetic practitioner who was actually, and she had all of these tests done. And what we were able to show is that all of these things which we're talking about, we can measure them. So that's to say, we can actually measure the effect of Wi-Fi, for instance, on the blood. We can measure Wi-Fi, how it impacts the biofield. So the biofield is this organizing field of energy that surrounds us, previously called the aura. Organizing field of energy surrounds us and permeates us. And it's this which is like the energetic blueprint to our physical body. And there's these clinics pretty much all around the world now, which are able to do this. And you can go in and you can get your heart rate variability measured and all of these things. And like measuring what happens when you meditate. You know what happens when you meditate? Well, you go from sympathetic to parasympathetic. Autonomous nervous system really chills out, and you go in this rest, relax, digest mode. So it's really about that, and this communicating this understanding that energies are really it's real. It's something real. When we say we're energetic beings, it's real, and that health is actually about bringing coherence to all of this, and and adopting this holistic approach, looking at health on all these different levels to understand that.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think we have to look at this as like, it's not just informative. This is critical information, because kind of going back to your story is what a lot of people experience, right? You're giving people an understanding of what this kind of mystery illness that they experienced may be, because you did what most people would do. I'd say like 90% of the world would do. Something happened to you and you're like, hey, I should go to the doctor because clearly something's wrong. And the doctor says, there's nothing wrong with you. And so then you sit there, and many people, you were like, I got to figure out because I know something was wrong. But many people will be like, well, I don't know what's wrong with me, or I don't know where to go, or I don't know what to do. And so this is about exposing people then to the practical idea of what is actually causing them problems within their lives. And
Exactly.
and
Because if yeah, go on.
no, I was going to say, and I assume it's important to also look at the optimization of this energetic health, right? And how do you make yourself better? But what are you going to say there?
I was just going to say, because if we don't do that, if we don't look at our energies or our energetic system, if we don't begin to explore this when we've got symptoms, we never get to the bottom of it. Frankly, we never get to the bottom. So you just keep going around in circles and circles and taking pills and potions and whatever and doing whatever your conventional medicine doctor tells you to do without getting to the root cause.
Yeah. And then you're just on this downward spiral. And yeah, you get to I don't think there's really a point where there's no coming back, but it certainly takes a lot longer when you get down in that pit to climb out of it and find those answers. So from a practical sense, what does all of this mean, right? Like, what can people do to actually foster their health from this kind of energetic perspective?
Yeah. So the good news is we can do a lot, right? But firstly, what we all have to do is, and I'm always saying this to people, is don't forget the fundamentals. Don't forget the basics, right? Because we can get all sort of, energy and all of that. And we have to get our energies tuned up and raise our vibration and throw all these terms around. And that's all great. But the fundamentals have to be addressed. And so what are the fundamentals? Well, it's just the basics like eating right, exercising, getting enough sleep, and then you can maybe drag it out to look at your relationships. And is that fundamental? I don't know. But anyway, certainly food, exercise, and sleep, they're certainly very important. And then beyond that, so my framework for looking at this is really simple. We've got beneficial energies and we've got non-beneficial energies. So just to talk about the non-beneficial energies, the obvious. So in terms of what we can do, addressing solutions and ways forward. So the non-beneficial energies, well, the obvious one is what we talked about here, EMFs, electromagnetic fields, man-made electromagnetic fields. And so what can we do? Well, there's so much we can do. EMF mitigation, and it's all figured out now. I call it the for understand, measure, mitigate. So maybe investing in an EMF meter and all of that. And so that's one thing we can do. Secondly, toxins. So EMFs are a toxin, of course, but anyway, I just pull them out of that category. But dealing with toxins. And so it's true that toxins impact us cellular function, impact our hormones, impact us biochemically. So all of that is true, and cause inflammation, of course. But they're also impacting us energetically. And so how do we deal with toxins? Well, we detox. And that is almost a fundamental today, really, because as we were saying, there's so much pollution out there, so many toxins out there. Babies have been born with toxins in their bloodstream. It's shocking. So looking at toxins, detox. And again, I'm looking at toxins, but I'm looking them in an energetic sense and also toxic relationships. And I keep coming back to this because it's important and because I just feel as though and it seems, particularly in the US, there's a thing about, I don't know how it is in Canada, but it's like genuine relationships based on kindness, trust, mutual respect, then they're kind of increasingly difficult to maintain, establish. And I think it's to do with cell phones and all of this, what's happening on screens.
Yeah.
It's disturbing people and breaking up of the family unit. Also, people traveling to do work and things, and so there's a lot going on. But again, that's an energy thing, and and so that means looking at maybe boundaries. What are your boundaries, and because we're all connected, literally, energetically. So you need to have boundaries, and like looking at that. And are you people pleasing and all this kind of thing? And again, I'm looking at this. So these are stuff we've been talking about all this for decades, but I'm talking about it in an energetic sense, if you want. And also, just lastly, on the non-beneficial energy is very important, trauma. So trauma. So what do I mean by trauma? I don't mean the earthquake, the plane crash and all of that. That's trauma, obviously. I mean trauma with a little t, stuff that happen often. We call them adverse childhood events, and these are massive. Been some big studies done on this. And what happens is, and trauma is quite simply anything that overwhelms you. Talking to Dr. Amy Apigian about this. She's a really top trauma expert. Anything that overwhelms you, and that puts you in a state of you can't deal with it. So what do? You store that energetically, often in your tissues, in your biofield, I like to say, but also in your tissues, and then it causes all kind of problems. The issues are in the tissues. We've all heard of that one. So that's the non-beneficial and things we can do. And obviously, trauma. There's many ways of dealing with trauma, including frequency. Everything we can actually deal with frequency. We can bring frequency corrections, as there's many ways of doing it. Microcurrent therapy. What is it? It's frequency. So there's endless solutions, frequency-based solutions to all of this stuff, which I've talked about here. And then the beneficial energies. So what is energetic health? It's kind of what we're answering. That's the question we're answering, is dealing with these non-beneficial energies. And it's also bringing into your life these beneficial energies. And what are those? How can we do that? Well, earthing. We talked about this before. What's earthing? Direct physical contact with Mother Earth. Last time I looked, over 20 peer-reviewed studies on this. Brings an almost immediate energetic correction to your energy system. Science, hard science behind this. Walks in nature. What? Well, yeah, nature has a frequency. You go outside, you hear the birds singing, you hear the wind in the trees, and the air, the charge in the air, the ions, all of that. It's energy, and it's very healing. The energy from the sun, very healing. Vitamin D, setting off this whole process, all of that. It's energetic processes. So this is energy healing. It's all free, folks. Thirdly, loving relationships. Back to relationships. Why? Because, if you go home and you're having an absolute shouting match with your partner every night, you can't hope to be energetically in a good place. And if you're not energetically in a good place, then you're not physically in a good place. And so that I've seen time and time again with the people I'm working with is we're in these toxic relationships. And so we want loving relationships, giving relationships where there's a to and fro. And again, I'm looking at like an energetic exchange. So you can have one partner that earns, and it can be same-sex relationship. This is not a male-female thing. But where there's an energetic exchange, so you might have one partner that's earning more than another, but it doesn't matter. It's not about money, but there has to be an energetic exchange here. And what I also want to say is, lastly, working with energy is also about connecting to your inner wisdom. And we all have this. It's figuring out how to do that. And there's lots of ways to do it. Like it can be using a pendulum, muscle testing, meditation. But being able to get intuitive insights is just, Einstein, he was brilliant, but Einstein, he actually, a lot of these ideas, he dreamt them. And then he went away, he got up in the morning, or he dreamt them, or he would be sitting in a park, on a park bench, and they just come to him, these ideas. And then he would go to his office and he'd start doing the formula to prove what he dreamt. So, this is true of the most brilliant minds that we've known that have existed throughout time, the Leonardo da Vinci's and so on. A lot of this, it came through intuitive insights. And in a way, it was easier then because we didn't have all of these EMFs and other energies and distractions and this crazy world. It was slower. And so that's the thing, is to find a way of slowing down. And so there's so many ways to work with energy. And that's really the key, I think, is to begin to understand that, I do, like working out and putting skin cream on and all of this, that's important. But at some point, if you're not working with energy in some shape or form, and it can be a technological solution like microcurrent therapy, like scalar, like whatever, but working with energy is, for me, is absolutely crucial to living well.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you bringing up the toxic relationships piece of this, because this is something I always feel a little awkward talking about, because you're essentially telling people, hey, if you're in a toxic relationship, you need to get out. And it's a hard one. Some people have been with someone that they've been in a toxic relationship. Maybe it's with their kids, their parents, their friends. It doesn't matter. It's hard to let go of. And you kind of touched on this idea of like relationships. You touched on it without saying it, but relationships are kind of transactional. It doesn't have to be, as you say, like money to money or anything like that. It's what are you getting out of a relationship, and what are you giving to that relationship? And that, when someone is in a bad relationship, they seem to just drop that energy all the time. As you say, your safe space, your home is no longer safe for you. You don't feel good when you're there. And that negativity breeds disease. It does.
Literally.
Yeah, it's huge. So I know that's a hard one for people to hear. And it doesn't have to mean like, oh, you've got to completely get out of this relationship. But it does mean you have to work on it. You have to reduce that toxicity, right?
Exactly. And that is a process. And it's not like, okay, doing your case and slamming the door. Not that at all. It's beginning a conversation. It's having a dialogue. It's trying to talk things out, maybe with a counselor or somebody, a professional, if you can't just do it, the two of you. And then maybe at some point it is walking out the door and separation and all of that. But then that's the best thing. I mean, it's nothing, and it's hard, but then it's an opportunity as well. And it's when you've actually gone through this process and talked it out and worked it out, then it all becomes clear, because you're not doing something just, on spur of the moment. You've really figured this out, and it's the best thing to do.
Well, and with everything you've kind of just described as we've been talking here, it really just seems that Electric YOUniverse as a documentary is just about empowering people. And is that what you would say?
Absolutely. And I think we're both about that, really. I mean, it's like, because if you're not empowering people, then you're not really giving in this world, because it's by helping people help themselves. Right. I think that's not helping people become dependent on you. And so if we're looking around, be that people or be that governments, like in France here, which is a wonderful country, great wine, great food and everything, like the whole government view, whoever's in power, it's a lot about, it's the government that should provide, and you should, be holding out your hand to a certain extent, expecting that. And I don't find that very healthy. And so if we can empower people, we all have these abilities. I really believe that. and these all these ways that we can shine. And if you're not shining, if you're not feeling as though you're shining, what I mean is by shining, I mean is like you're doing what you came here to do on this planet, right? That's what I mean by, and that is all about being in alignment, and your energy's being aligned and being on purpose, on mission. And so when you're doing that, then everything goes so much better. And does that mean, Lloyd doesn't have a bad day? Of course. But Lloyd bounces back really quickly, because through this, I've learned so much, and, how to work with frequency. And that's what I do every day, is work with frequency in some way every day. And there are so many ways to do that. And the good news is a lot of them are free. They take a bit of effort, but they are free. Working with energy is actually mainly free.
Yeah, I love that. So thank you, Lloyd. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Rob.
All right, to our listeners, I'm going to include all of Lloyd's contact info and the information on how to view Electric YOUniverse in the show notes at painfreeforlife.com/podcast. So until next time, I'm Dr. Rob Vanbergen, and you're listening to Pain Free for Life.
Thanks for listening to Pain Free for Life. Be sure to follow us, share the show with family and friends, and leave us a review on iTunes. Every time you share the show, you are helping someone take their life back from pain. Visit painfreeforlife.com for more resources, including our free guides to microcurrent, the Hache protocol and inflammation, as well as our blog and online community full of people just like you, successfully overcoming all kinds of chronic and extreme conditions to live happy, productive, pain-free lives forever. And stay tuned for the next episode of Pain Free for Life.